I'm Kate Friedman, and I teach teachers how to build inclusive communities with their students. I work with graduate and undergraduate students at NYU, and also with educational organizations around the world. Today we'll see why and how you can co-create a digital culture plan with your students for remote learning. Take a minute to think about your communities. Which ones are you most invested in? Is it because you've had a say in their development? Is it because you share culture, values? Assessing your own community experiences will help you create one with your students where they feel valued and seen. A culture plan is a kind of social and emotional curriculum that you as the teacher build intentionally with your students during the first few weeks of school. My culture plan includes resources from Responsive Classroom, Ruler, and Universal Design for Learning. The goal is to co-create a community with your students so they feel safe and can learn. Addressing students' social and emotional needs is key to building community with them. Using age-appropriate mood meters from Ruler for students to share their feelings shows students that you value what they are going through and that making space for their feelings is important. Here's a virtual check-in. Think about which dog or dogs represent how you feel in this moment. If we were live together on Zoom, I'd ask you to share this in the chat box. As a teacher, this would quickly give me a sense of where the class is and who I should follow up with later. For the students, this is a low-pressure way to express feelings. Deciding how you will communicate together is a powerful activity. I use the symbols on the top to code my slides so students know what's expected of them. I also teach nonverbal communication so we can all participate in discussions. Ask your students how they want to communicate. Video on or off? Mute until it's time to speak? Part of building a community is knowing what students need. The activity called Hopes and Dreams from Responsive Classroom lets you know what's important to your students so you know how to support them and how to engage them by building their interests into your curriculum and community practices. This way of engaging is a principle in Universal Design for Learning, which is a framework for teaching that is all about planning for every kind of student. It ensures that you represent content in a variety of ways, offer choices for students to express what they've learned, and use student interests to engage them meaningfully. Years ago, while teaching kindergarten special education, I realized that students spoke of each other as the best in reading or the best in math, which excluded all kinds of students. Expert charts support your community in celebrating skills outside of traditional academics and offer a way for students to learn from each other. We all know how valuable class jobs are when we're in person. They give students a sense of responsibility and agency and often help you out too. Invite students to choose ways they can support the class. Maybe someone has a dog they can bring to Zoom when a classmate is sad or needs cheering up. Maybe someone's great at tech. Taking breaks is key to keeping your community cohesive. Notice when students are fidgeting, or the time of day they often get restless, or even when sad feelings arise. Stretching, doing a dance, going off camera, or snuggling with a pet can break up the day and help students recenter themselves. Remember to use a timer. We all know about the rules, also called community agreements, responsive classroom style. The goal is for students to generate rules and for you to categorize them into 3 buckets: caring for yourself, each other, and the space. Students will be invested because they've had a say. Part of making rules is acknowledging that we all make mistakes and that we need a process for how to deal with it when it happens. I teach students that when they make a mistake, I'll gently point it out, ask them to take a break, and to come back when they're ready. This is teaching self-reflection and self-regulation. Part of self-regulation is knowing how your brain works, your executive functioning. What does your brain do well? Where do you struggle? Talk about this with your students so they know when to ask for help. You'll learn how and when to support each student with checklists, timers, and graphic organizers. Other tools I use to support executive functioning are agenda bars at the bottom of my slides, keeping documents organized in one place, recording audio in my students' home language, using breakout rooms so students can process together, and taking scheduled and unscheduled body breaks. Go Noodles, great. Self-regulation helps when you're angry, frustrated, overstimulated, anxious, and more. I take deep breaths and imagine the ocean waves crashing on the shore. What are your strategies? By sharing them with your students, you'll normalize big feelings and help students discover their own strategies. They might even be able to make a little calm down kit at home to support them. Class communities need a container. Having rituals for starting and ending the day, especially over Zoom, can help make the students feel part of a class community. Invite students to choose and facilitate your morning and afternoon activities. These can also be class jobs that rotate. Invite students to intentionally create their physical learning space just as you have created yours. They can make posters, fill a shoebox with their school supplies, or create a calm down area. Share your self-talk so they can learn from your process for creating a learning space. Bitmoji virtual classrooms can be a great way to simulate the classroom and create a sense of community space. You can also get creative with your virtual backgrounds. Google Slides are the size of a virtual background, and you can create backgrounds for different subjects or parts of the day. This is my morning meeting one. Which of these components do you want to co-create with your students? Which feel the most meaningful to you? Below this video is a culture plan template that will support you in thinking about these components so you can be intentional about co-creating a class community with your students.